Hey guys, it's Emily here and welcome to... I don't know what this channel's called anymore. I feel like it has been forever since we have been able to post a video, and I greatly apologize for that, but we've had some issues on the channel with members coming and going and stuff like that. So currently our channel doesn't have a name, but we are working to figure that out, and if you guys have any suggestions, please leave them down below because we are running a blank on it. But I have been very excited to post this video. I personally love to tell stories, so I'm super excited that we're finally being able to do our first story times. I've decided to make my first story time on my most embarrassing moments. I mean, what better way to do it? These are obviously really embarrassing and all that good junk. So I've chosen two of my most embarrassing moments to tell, and they have both happened semi-recently. My first one has to do with golf. Last season, we made it all the way to sectionals, which sectionals, it goes regionals, which is the first round of state, like it's the first round to get to state, and then once you pass that, you get to sectionals, and then if you get past sectionals, you go to state. So we were in the sectional section of the whole process, and for whatever reason, I don't know what was happening at the time. My softball swing and my golf swing were just awful, and so my ball would not get off of the ground. And I got by with that at regionals because they had like really short grass, so I was able to, it would roll a long way. But at sectionals, sadly the golf course that we were playing at had really thick grass, and so I would hit the ball and it wouldn't go in the air and it would just stop, like completely. And so that was my first issue, and so on the first hole I probably got like a 7 on a par 4, so I was like, it's okay, like it's whatever, I'm fine with this, you know? So then I make it to the second hole and I tee off, and I see where it goes. It kind of goes in a rough spot, but I was like, whatever, it's cool. So I hit it, and then I walk over there to go look for it, and none of us could find it anywhere. No joke, we looked for like 10 minutes for this ball, and it was nowhere to be found. It made no sense. So I had to go tee off again. And then I kept hitting the ball, and and there was this ditch. This course was filled with ditches everywhere. Everywhere. And I can't hit the ball off the ground. So what does that mean for Emily? She's hitting it in the ditches. So I hit it in the ditch, and then once I finally got out of the ditch, I hit into the sand. And once I got in the sand, I hit into the ditch. And it just kept going. You want to know what I shot on that hole? A 24 on a par 4. A par 4, if you don't know anything about golf, a par 4 means that you should get it into the hole in 4 shots. I shot a 24, which means that it took me 20 more shots than I was supposed to. So I was pissed, I was livid, I was crying, and I was playing with these two other girls. And it was basically the worst day of my life. I was bawling my eyeballs out. My coaches were like, I don't know what to do with her. And I was like throwing clubs. And so my day just kept going like that. Like I kept running into ditches and it was awful. And so we're probably getting halfway through my day and I'm still crying. But I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? Who cares? Like I'm playing awful. Like I literally stopped caring. I gave no craps. So I'm on this hole, and I don't remember any details of it. I just remember that I was standing here, and then the girl was like in front of me slightly, like ever so slightly, and to the right of me. Like she was barely in front of me. So obviously you don't assume that you're in any danger when you're standing like right there, because you would assume that the person that's hitting can hit it like straight. But unfortunate for the girl that was playing with me, I hit it, and for whatever reason the ball shot off of the end of the club and smacked straight into her leg. So I hit a girl, and I sat there like, oh my god, like, are you okay? And like she was like, oh, it's okay, like limping like, oh no, it's no big deal, and like that kind of thing. And I'm like crying. And you know what's even better is not only did the ball hit her, it didn't even bother to bounce like into the fairway. No, it had to bounce out of bounds. So I was just like, and so it was awful. I felt so bad for her. Like she had the biggest whelp in like 2 seconds because I smacked the snot out of her with a golf ball. I felt awful, and they still pick on me for this day for it. And then the next hole, I was at a par 3, and it's like a really short hole, and there were all these coaches like lined up around the side in their golf carts. I was super embarrassed. Like they already told my coach that like I already hit somebody. It was awful. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like teeing off, and I hit the ball, and for whatever reason I hit it, and I hit like to the side where the coaches were, and so it shot off to the side, and it bounced around like a pinball machine inside of the golf cart and hit a coach. And so I hit the girl and her coach in 2 holes. I didn't even know that was possible. Like, what? It was awful. It was the worst day of my life. It was the longest day ever. 18 holes of trash. They let me cheat. Sorry, GSHA, right? I don't even know what it's called. Sorry, Golf Association of High School, whatever. They literally had to let me cheat because I hit like 8 balls into a into a ditch, and they were like, let's just let her go over. So they let me cheat because I was doing awful. You want to know what the final score of that day was? 179. I will never forget that score. That was the I really do think I was the worst score in the whole thing. Like, I don't understand. Like, and you know, par is usually like 76, like that's the normal par for a course. No, I shot 179 strokes, and it was so embarrassing because I'm playing with these girls, and like everybody can see your score. Like, it was awful. So that was not really that funny, but it was the worst day of my life. I shot a 179. I hit a girl and I hit her coach, and I cried the whole time. Everybody was watching me bawl my eyeballs out. It was awful. The second story I have for you gets a little TMI. So we're about to get a little up close and personal, and you're probably not going to want to know any of this, but I'm going to tell you anyway because it's embarrassing. So why not tell you? Okay, so my throat hurt and like stuff like that, and I think I was like running a fever. So I went to the doctor with my dad. And by the way, I sent my mom like a picture of my throat, and I had like lumps in my throat or something. Like, I assumed that I had like strep throat or something. And my mom, she goes, "Emily, call me right now." And I said, "For what? Like, I just sent you a picture of my sore throat." And she was like, "According to Google, you have an STD." And I said, "What? Like, what are you talking about? I have a sore throat." And she's like, "Well, according to Google, those are symptoms of an STD." And I'm like, you gotta be joking me. So that was already embarrassing enough that my mom was literally accusing me of having an STD when literally all I had was a virus. Somebody get my mom off of, somebody take Google away from my mom. Somebody take WebMD away from my mom because she doesn't need to have it. Anyway, obviously I didn't have an STD. Just cut that already. So I had a virus, and I remember at the doctor looked at me and she was like, "I'm giving you some antibiotics," and she was like, "But there's like a slight chance of you getting a yeast infection because it can mess up your pH balance." If you don't know, a yeast infection is caused by a mess up of your pH balance in your area, and it can be caused by apparently antibiotics and like not cleaning very well down there and like junk like that, right? So I take it, and she's like, the way she said it, she made it sound like it's like a 30-70% chance of me getting a yeast infection. No, I got a yeast infection, and it was my first one ever. I didn't know what to do. It was awful. It was uncomfortable. It's everything that you think it would be. It was terrible. And my grandma, I told her about it, and I didn't know what to do, and my mom wasn't home, and neither was my dad to go take me. So my grandma goes and takes me to the doctor, and for whatever reason, she kept thinking that you have to have a prescription to go get like over-the-counter like medication for a yeast infection, because she said back in the day they had to have prescriptions. So, but you don't. So me and my grandma take this jolly good ride that's uncomfortable to CVS to get my issue medicine. And so we walk in there, and it's all normal, and I'm obviously embarrassed. Like, I mean, like, it's not something you should be ashamed of, but it's not something that you want to be announced to everybody. So we get up to the thing, and my grandma goes, this is literally my sweet little grandma walking up to the table thing, and she's like, "Excuse me, this is my granddaughter's first yeast infection. Yeah, like, does this look like what you should use?" And they go on and on about yeast infections and about what kind of medication. And there's some like old man behind me, and I can see like the other pharmacist lady back there like chuckling, and I'm like, "Grandma, Grandma, you don't announce that to the world. Like, that's so embarrassing." Like, she was just like, "This is my granddaughter's first yeast infection." I am so offended. that is my personal business. And she's like, yeah, she's 16 years old, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, stop, Grandma. You don't go and announce your granddaughter's first yeast infection. First and hopefully last. That was awful. Anyway, the medicine worked. It was gone in like 3 days. So, lesson from this video of my most embarrassing moments is don't play golf. And don't go with your grandma to get yeast infection medication because she'll announce it to the whole store. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any sort of suggestions of what me and my friends should do next, please leave them in the comments, and also leave your suggestions for names in the comments. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next Thursday.